T-shirt set-in sleeve. This can be made with a short or a long sleeve. It has a rib neck opening and it is hip length, which means it's good length for your child, and it's a basic item for your child's wardrobe. It's made in a knit fabric, single knit, double knit or merino blend for winter, cosy and warm. You need ribbing for the neck opening. If you can't get a matching ribbing, you can always use the fabric like I have. Pattern pieces. Front and a back on the fold ×1 and the sleeve ×2 on the straight grain, short or long sleeve. Okay, so we're cutting out the t-shirt. I'm going to lay both t-shirt front and back on the fold, pin them in place and cut around them, making sure my cutting is straight up to the pattern pieces edge and the curves are cut well so that the outcome is a well made and well shaped t-shirt. When you've finished cutting out the armhole, make sure you clip in to show the front and the back markings and also the centre front and centre back to help with adding on the neck ribbing. And for the sleeve, 2 on the straight grain, and make sure you cut across the sleeve head close to the pattern edge and make sure you put in the notches to show the front, the back and the shoulders. And we're going to cut out some ribbing for the neck opening. You want to cut a 6 cm wide strip to use. Shoulder seams. With your right sides facing, pin the front shoulders to the back shoulders on both sides. You're sewing the seam from the neck to the arm opening, so make sure your pins are facing the neck. You're doing this with zigzag stitch, 3mm wide, 3mm long. Don't pull your fabric too much when you bring it through the sewing machine or else you'll stretch and distort the seam. When you've finished, make sure you trim your threads at the end of the seam and the beginning of the seam and press both shoulder seams towards the back pattern piece. Neck opening. So we've got our neck, we've cauterized it, we've put a pin at the centre front, centre back and halfway between those two. We've got our ribbing and we're going to use the 3/4 rule. So 3/4 of the circumference of the neck is how much ribbing you cut, plus a 2 cm seam allowance. You can pin it and sew it. I tend to sew it with a straight stitch. That means when you open it up, it doesn't have an awkward sort of roughness to it that zigzag will give it. You're going to fold this neck pattern piece in half lengthways, so it's kind of like a tube and you're halving the tube. Put a pin at the centre back, which is your seam, and fold it over, and then you'll find the centre front, put a pin there, and obviously you're going to do the same. Once you've got those two, you match them up and you get halfway between those two, which ends up with 4 pins. So you've got 4 pins relating to the t-shirt body and neck. Match them up. So the centre back has the seam of the ribbing, pin it in place, centre front, pin it, sides, pin it, and then pin in between. Use as many pins as you can. It's a neck, you want it to work. So remember, you're only stretching the ribbing as you sew, you're not stretching the fabric. Pull the fabric out, sometimes it can tuck in there and make a little error, you don't want any of those. Stretch the ribbing as you go, slowly zigzag sewing. Continue all the way round to the end. Clip your threads, press your neck edge towards your body, and you can top stitch it down. You can use zigzag for this, or the twin needle, which I've used here, which means you're tidying up the neck edge, holding it down, and you need to trim away the excess fabric. And it looks quite nice, and you can press it again. armhole seam. Okay, you're going to do 2 rows of gathering to fit the sleeve into the shirt body. You can do 1 or 2 with the knit fabric. When you've got the right sides facing, you match a sleeve to the shirt body at the armhole, matching all markings. So you need to find the right side, and you need to find the front marking to be able to match it up. Then match up the shoulder and the back marking. There'll be a little bit of a opening that has a little bit of excess on the shirt sleeve. That's when you use the gathering, tighten it up, make it nice and tidy. Pin it with as many pins as you can. And then you're going to sew the seam, zigzag stitch again, and when you're finished you can clip the seam so that it sits nicely, and you're going to press the seam towards the sleeve so that when the shirt is on, the seam is going down the sleeve. So clip the seam so that it kind of like lets that curve open up and press towards the body. Side seams. With the right sides facing, pin together the body and the sleeve of the t-shirt. Now in this video scene, I've actually top stitched the hem of the sleeve first because it was such a tiny size. If it's a bigger size, you don't have to do that. So once it's pinned, you're going to sew it with zigzag. Sew from the lower edge towards the sleeve edge, and when you're finished, trim your fabrics. Repeat for the other side, and you're going to press your seams towards the back of the shirt. And again, I've used the tailor hem to do this. Fold the sleeve edge to the wrong side with a 1.5 centimetre hem, pin and top stitch on the right side with zigzag, running stitch or twin needle. Trim away the excess fabric and press. Lower edge hem. Again, fold the lower edge to the wrong side with a 1.5 centimetre hem, pin this and top stitch on the right side with zigzag, running stitch or twin needle. Obviously you're going to be continuous and have the same style of top stitch on your neck opening if you've top stitched it, your sleeves and your hem. If you've used twin needle, trim the excess and press your hem and your sleeve hems.